Saturday is a must win for USC and Lincoln Riley. Starting this Saturday in West Lafayette, Indiana, against Purdue, USC has to win a game on the road in a stadium that's not in Los Angeles.
You are Locked On USC, your daily podcast on the USC Trojans, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Fight on, everyone. I'm your host, Mark Culkin, and thank you. Thanks for making Locked On USC part of the Locked On Network, your first listen every day, whether you are watching this show on YouTube, wherever you want to download this podcast. This show is always free. This show always appreciates your support, and this episode is brought to you by Monarch Money. Sorry about that. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONCollege at monarchmoney.com, and you're going to get 50% off your first year. So last year, USC won one road game. Happened to be at the Rose Bowl. I'm not going to get it done. USC has to win this game. It is a must win. I mean, every now and then you see a stat, a statistic will come across your timeline, and you say to yourself, there's no freaking way that is true. Well, facts are the facts. You, as hard as you want to try and find somewhere to disprove it, you can't. And while Lincoln Riley is only partially responsible for this, anomaly, it's continued under his watch. It happened 3 times last year. 3 times. However, the fact that USC, did you know that USC is 0-14? Yeah, they have not won a game in the Central or Eastern time zone in their last 14 tries. That is mind-boggling. And like I said, this is not all on Lincoln Riley. A lot of this is attributed to the Clay Helton era. 2013, USC lost at Notre Dame. 2014, remember that loss at Boston College? 2015, at Notre Dame. 2016, USC opened up in a neutral site, Dallas against Alabama. We know how that ended. 2017, let's see, USC lost at Notre Dame. They lost the Cotton Bowl to Ohio State. So again, we're just talking about Central and Eastern time zones, not Pacific Coast, not Mountain Time. 2018, USC lost at Texas. 2019, USC lost, it's not like a broken record, at Notre Dame. In 2020, COVID. They were spared. In 2021, at Notre Dame. In 2022, this is when Lincoln Riley took over. So we know about the Cotton Bowl, Tulane. The following year, 2023, at Notre Dame. 2024, last year, at Michigan, at Minnesota, at Maryland. Of those 14 games, 8 of them, USC scored 20 points or fewer. Half of those games, 7 out of 14, USC lost by double digits. Slightly under half, 6 out of 14, USC was the higher ranked team in the AP poll. All right, 5 out of those 14 games, USC was favored if you like to use the point spread. So what does that mean? It means USC has to win at Purdue. If you can't beat Purdue as a 21.5 point favorite, then when is it going to happen? Right? This is supposed to be the easiest road game on USC's schedule in 2025. So how are they going to go about that? How are they going to get this win? So far this year, USC's offense has gotten out fast, right? We know that. They've been fast and furious at home. They did it against 2 overmatched opponents, Missouri State, Georgia Southern. This game, the game against Missouri State, that thing was over by halftime. And for all intents and purposes, you could say the same thing against Clay Helton's team, Georgia Southern. even though USC was only leading 31-13 at the half, as opposed to, what was it, 42 to whatever versus Missouri State. Playing on the road is always going to be more difficult, right? That just goes with, you're playing on the road. You're in a hostile environment. You're not familiar with, playing there, get the fans, all that kind of stuff's going on. So here's the thing. All right. Last year was USC's first year in the big conference. And USC led in each of those games that they lost. Starting in Michigan. Same thing at Minnesota. Same thing at Maryland. They have the lead at Washington as well. But again, we're talking about two specific time zones. And in each of those games, USC held leads in the fourth quarter. And they actually did not give up those leads until like the last minute of the game. So, number one, USC can't put themselves in that same position. They're not scoring points. Right now, they're scoring a lot of points. Let's see if they can score a lot of points on the road against an overmatched opponent. Don't let Purdue hang around. And that's what USC did last year on the road. They allowed not a good Michigan team to hang around. They allowed Michigan to stay close. They had that interception that helped them. And then they allowed their running game was just good enough against USC's defense without having to fear the pass to get the job done. We know what happened in Minnesota. We know what happened at Maryland. I'm not going to rehash that. But if USC's offense shows up at Purdue the way it's been showing up at home, just getting out quickly, I don't know if Purdue has the offense to keep up with USC. I mean, against Southern Illinois, the Boilermakers' last game, Southern Illinois led 14-0. And then Purdue's defense kind of settled in. They outscored the Salukis 34-3 the rest of the game. If you are an everydayer, hopefully you are. And if you aren't, click that red subscribe button. If you're watching on YouTube, smash that thumbs up. Click the bell notification. You don't want to miss an episode. So much is going on here at Locked On USC. You're the only one who loses if you're not watching the show. So as I mentioned on yesterday's episode of Locked On USC, it was a crossover I did with Nick Arvin, the host of Locked On Boilermakers. Assuming, again, this is just, for argument's sake, assuming both defenses are equal. We know they're not, okay? Not saying they are, but again, just for argument's sake. Can Purdue's offense keep up with USC? So let's say USC gets up 14-0. Is Purdue all of a sudden going to have that? Are they going to be able to be explosive to come back and score on USC as often or as frequently as USC's been scoring? Who knows? Maybe Purdue locks up and locks it in, settles down, and they lock up USC's offense for the rest of the game. Do you see that happening? I don't. And here's another important stat. So we know USC has to win this game. They got to break that 0-for-14 streak in the Central and Eastern time zone. Can Jaden Mayava make it 3 straight games without an interception? Because if he does, I like USC's chances. I like them a lot. This game, win or lose, isn't going to make or break the season. It's going to have an effect on the season because we'll have to see how USC responds, especially coming home to play Michigan State. Again, this is supposed to be their easy road game. So while it won't make or break their season, it won't be a good sign. I think we can all agree on that. Last year, USC was close on the road. This year, this is by far, the most winnable game on the road on USC's schedule. I mean, we know they have another road game at Illinois, and then they also play at Notre Dame, Nebraska, and Oregon. That's why this is a must-win. This one is the must-win game. I've talked about it all offseason. I even talked about it right at the beginning of the season. USC has to win all 7 of their home games, okay? Because if the floor for them is 8 wins, what was the over-under in Vegas? 7.5. So if the floor is 8 wins, You win all 7 of your home games. You win this one, you're at 8. This is win number 8 on your schedule. Coach Riley, after Tuesday's practice, he talked about how they're going to, tweak some things for this road trip. Try and do things a little bit differently. Maybe that'll make the difference in these close games. So we know that one of the things we would love USC to do when they travel is to get there in plenty of time and do a walkthrough at the stadium. Coach Riley has not committed to doing that yet. What they are doing, they are getting bigger planes for these road trips. There's going to be more leg space for the players so they can kind of stretch out. So they're all cramped up for 3.5, 4 hours for some of these trips. 4.5 hours if you have to go all the way to the East Coast. So yes, they're still leaving on Friday. Walkthrough, I don't know. Again, he didn't commit to it, didn't say it. I'm going to assume no. And if you remember, I've told you why he doesn't like doing it. A lot of effort corralling the entire team, getting them there, corralling them, getting them back to the hotel, getting them all situated. So they've been focusing, they've been studying on getting them, improving their sleeping habits, getting them more sleep, improving their meals, when they're being served their meals. Hopefully that will make the difference. And again, I don't know how much of a difference, but again, it's the little things. It's usually the devil's in the details. So we'll see if this helps USC get that first road win in the big conference in a stadium that's not in Southern California. USC plays in the Coliseum. USC plays in the Rose Bowl. That is their home away from home. This game, yeah, you got to prove that you can beat the teams you're supposed to beat. Purdue starting over. Okay. New head coach, Barry Odom. Josh Henson's there. Brian Odom's there. Remember him? He is actually Purdue's head coach's older brother. Yeah, Brian is the older brother to Barry. And we're going to talk about what Coach Barry Odom had to say in the next segment. He talked ahead of the game. He spoke to the media. So, again, USC, they have to be able to go into a stadium, especially against a team like Purdue, which is going to be their best team that they played so far, but over 50 new players on the roster, new coaching staff, just trying to get familiar with each other. And bottom line, if they don't have the offensive firepower to stay with USC, if USC's defense just continues to improve, they should come home 3-0. All right, we're going to talk about what Barry had to say in the next segment. And I want to tell you about 2 different types of underrated players in the third segment. First, let's do this. Mazda crafts cars for those who choose to do more than simply drive. They follow what moves them every time they drive. And that's what makes Mazda stand out. They go beyond safety, style, and performance to deliver a driving experience that feels alive in every detail. You can feel it the moment you get behind the wheel. The smooth handling, the intuitive controls, and standard all-wheel drive in every crossover SUV. So, whether it's a quick drive to practice or a weekend road trip, Mazda makes even everyday drives feel special. It's the small details that make the big plays. And just like there's more to every player, there's more to a Mazda vehicle. Mazda, move and be moved. It's almost the weekend again. It's time to look back and crown this week's MVP on Who Delivered. And that's going to be powered up by DoorDash. Just like you can win every Saturday with DoorDash Streaks, saving more every time you order. These players delivered when it mattered most. I'm going to break it down for you. Have you heard the name King Miller yet? Well, you better remember the name King Miller because he's doing King Miller things again. In game 1, he dashed for 75 yards, touchdown, USC. And then this past week against Georgia Southern, he streaked 41 yards for another touchdown. And just like King Miller delivered for USC, your DoorDash delivers for you on Saturdays. With DoorDash Streaks, you can save every Saturday you order. Stack it up all season, and you can save up to $250, including $100 in DoorDash credits. Order this Saturday. Keep the streak alive. Fuel your game day only with DoorDash. Terms apply, and the promo period runs through November 18th. Barry Odom is now in his first year as Purdue's head coach. He's considered like one of the Mr. Rebuilds. If you need to start your program from the ground up again, you hire Barry Odom. He did it at Missouri, brought them up to a 10-win team, took his talents out to UNLV. Guess what? Did the same thing out there. So he doesn't hang around long, but when he's ready to leave, he's leaving the program in better shape than when he found it. Right now, he ran into Purdue. He's got him already at 2-0 on the season. I think he's the first head coach at Purdue to do that in like forever. Yeah, he's 2-0 with a caveat. It's not like he's beating the USCs of the world. First game of the year, they beat Ball State 31-0. Hey, they got a shutout. They beat Ball State. Credit where credit is due. And that is an in-state school. I mean, Ball State's in Indiana as well. And then last week, as I mentioned in the first segment, they fell behind 14-0 to FCS Southern Illinois, but they did outscore them 34-3 to win that game. So 34-17 was the final score. USC is better than those programs by a lot. And even Coach Odom will tell you that. So Coach Odom, he brought with him, he's familiar with Josh Henson. They worked together at Missouri. He brought him in as his offensive coordinator. And then he brought his older brother, as I mentioned, Brian Odom, who used to coach linebackers at USC. And if that's not enough, there's one more USC connection. Remember Michael Jackson, the third wide receiver from Las Vegas? Well, he is now playing for the Boilermakers. Started at USC, Georgia, now is at Purdue. Michael is just, he's trying to find one good season while he's still in college. He's been bitten by the injury bug, I guess is the best way to put it. So those are just some of the guys who are at Purdue trying to help rebuild that program. They're starting over. Josh Henson, again, he's the offensive coordinator. He's the play caller. Mike Jack, again, trying to have one good season. And then you got Coach Brian Odom over there on the defensive side of the ball as well. So head coach Barry Odom and offensive coordinator Josh Henson, they spoke to the media this week. They're previewing the game. And both of them, they said, yeah, we're gonna tap into what Coach Henson knows about USC's roster. This is what head coach Barry Odom had to say. Quote, obviously Josh was there last year, the last 3 years or so. So he understands the personnel, and it would be a little bit more intimate and detailed than just a normal week. I think any information that we can gain any way possible, we're always trying to find an edge for our team. So schematically, physically, all the things that go into that. And then Coach Henson kind of parroted that when he followed up what his boss had to say. Coach Henson said this: I do know their personnel well. They have some new guys that are playing well up front, on the defensive line, in the interior. Is there an advantage? Sure, because you do know intimately what they're capable of. You have a feel for the things you need to work on for each guy as you're heading through the week, end quote. So there it is. Coach Henson thinks, well, you know what? I know each of those players. I know what their tendencies are. I know what Coach Henney, what Coach New was thinking. It's that chess game, right? The game within the game. Henson's going to try and recall what he saw when he was, when he was on USC staff during practices, during the games. Try and carry that over into preparation for USC this week. Meanwhile, so you have Coach Lynn and you got Coach Henney and Coach Nua and everybody on that defensive staff. They're going to do their best to confuse Coach Henson and his X's O's, schematically. How can we confuse Coach Henson? It's that game within the game. So now, on the flip side, Coach Odom knows Jaden Mayaba pretty well. He was Jaden's head coach 2 years ago at UNLV. And in fact, Barry Odom was the head coach when Jaden Mayaba led the Running Rebels to 9 wins. When he was under center, UNLV won 9 games. This is what Coach Barry Odom had to say about Jaden. Jaden was our quarterback my first year at UNLV and led us to 9 wins and just a wonderful young man. Great family and was a lot of fun to coach. He's had great success at USC. Looks like he's continued to develop his game, both throwing, reading defenses, running the complete way that quarterbacks do. He can make every throw there is on the field. He's a tough runner, a great competitor. I know that he will continue to have a really solid season playing. I hate to see him on the other side of the field anytime you're playing a former player. That's hard. Love him to death. We're connected forever. For both of us, I think if you asked him, he would say the same thing. But on Saturday, for 4 hours, I'm trying to do everything I can to win the game. I hope he has a lot of success other than for 4 hours on Saturday. So he said that last part with a chuckle. But yeah, Coach Odom knows who Jade Miyabi is, what he's capable of doing. Now it's up to Coach Riley to show Barry Odom, well, this is what he's capable of doing when I'm coaching. So we'll see. The biggest thing, no turnovers. Go 3 straight games without throwing an interception. So I mentioned that 0-4, 0-14 stat USC on the road in the first segment. Again, besides not turning the ball over, this is one other area that USC really needs to focus on in this game. And do not think Purdue's coaching staff is not cognizant of it as well. Coach Odom said this: if you look at our plan to win, that's part of it. Number one, it's football IQ, being a smart team. It's also the hidden yardage within the game, either field position through the kicking game or average starting position, how important that is, and penalties go into that as well. Excuse me. At the end of the year, if you can be the least penalized team and you're winning in the turnover margin and field position, then you're going to be winning football. Then you're going to be a winning football team. We've got to keep that in our favor. So what he's alluding to, what he's talking about right there, penalties. USC was really sloppy in this last game, whereas Purdue, they're not. They play smart. They play disciplined. They have to, because a lot of times they're going to be overmatched. So they have to be smarter than their opposition. So far, through their first 2 games, Purdue has committed just 5 penalties, at least 5 that have been enforced, for a total of 55 yards. That would have them tied for 2nd overall in penalties per game, and that would place them 12th in penalty yards per game. It's in the country. On the other side of the coin, USC, as I mentioned, real sloppy against Georgia Southern. Well, they rank 82nd in penalties per game and 110th in penalty yards per game. Again, a lot of that has to do with what happened in this last game. They were pretty clean in game 1. This last one, 3 hands to the face, a PI. You had the offsides on one series that led to a touchdown. Got to clean that up. When you're on the road, you have to limit your penalties. You have to limit your turnovers to like 1 or none. None would be preferable. 0 would be preferable. So would 0 penalties. USC is still trying to figure out how they do things in the big conference. We know you can hold. We saw that last year. And so far, USC hasn't really been called for holding. Yeah, that's me knocking on something really hard. Not wood, but hard enough to be wood. So yeah. All right. So that's what Coach Odom had to say. That's what Coach Henson had to say. We'll see if they have enough to beat USC at home, denying USC their opportunity to win on the road. Can't happen. Not this game. USC has to win. All right, we got one more segment to go. I'm going to talk to you, tell you about 2 different types of underrated players, and they're both on USC's roster. But also, give you a quick heads up. Upcoming this week, I am going to have an AP voter on this show. And then I'm also going to do an extra episode. I'm bringing back the MVP, Marvin Powell III. We're going to do a show previewing Purdue this weekend. So a lot to look forward to on Locked on USC. We got one more segment to go. The NFL season is here, and FanDuel is making sure you're ready for kickoff with a can't-miss offer. Right now, new customers, if you can bet just $5. And if your bet wins, you're going to get $300 in bonus bets that you can use across the entire FanDuel app. I mean, hello, 5 for 300, make it happen. You're going to love using FanDuel because it fits however you like to bet. Whether you're into the player prop bets, maybe you want to build a same game parlay, or maybe you just want to jump in live as the action's unfolding. You can do that with FanDuel. So are you ready to play? Download the FanDuel app now by visiting FanDuel.com to get started. That's FanDuel.com to place your first $5 bet. Most people can't even name all their financial accounts or even what they're worth, whether it's their 401k, properties that they might own, or all the different types of investments. And when you don't have the full picture, you can end up leaving money on the table. That's why there's Monarch Money. It's an all-in-one personal finance tool that brings your entire financial life together in one clean, easy-to-use interface on your laptop or on your phone. Monarch does all the heavy lifting for you. You can link all of your accounts in minutes. You can see clear data visuals. You can get smart categorization of your spending. And finally, you will feel in total control of your money without ever touching a spreadsheet. And I think this is one fantastic feature you'll even love. When you link all of your accounts to Monarch, it's going to immediately spot any type of subscriptions that you're not using or maybe you're doubled up on. Yeah, if they find that and you get rid of them, you cancel those subscriptions, you're saving money right off the bat. I'm telling you, do not let financial opportunities slip through the cracks. Use code LOCKEDONCollege at monarchmoney.com in your browser for half off your first year. That's 50% off your first year at monarchmoney.com with the code LOCKEDONCollege. So there are two different types of underrated players. You have the players who are undersized, and that's why they are, I don't want to say frowned upon, but why they don't get that fourth star or that fifth star. For all of you who are in the star rankings, the star ratings from the recruiting services, size matters. And you know what else matters, though? Where you're from. I was talking to somebody earlier today, and we were talking about, how the players are judged and what's important. You know how I feel about it. It's not about the stars. It's about the programs who are recruiting you. When you have the programs, the names like a USC and Alabama, Ohio State, Miami, Oklahoma, when you have those types of programs coming after you, you're a good player regardless of how many stars are next to your name. That's all you need to remember. That's all you need to understand. So, two examples. Micah Banuelos, undersized. He was only a 3-star coming out of high school. Here's another example. Floyd Boucard has the size, looks the part, plays the part. He was also just a 3-star. Why? Because he's from Canada. That made a difference. So you have Micah Banuelos. He's undersized coming out of high school. Still, he was offered by USC, Oregon, Texas A&M, Washington. Those aren't slouch programs. Floyd Boucard, he's from Canada. He had to move to the United States to get recognition. Because again, you have to work twice as hard if you're a Canadian to get the finger quotes, the respect you deserve. Canadian football players are underrated. I mean, when he finally moved to California, and that takes a lot of maturity when you're in high school to kind of say, you know what, Mom, Dad, I gotta go. I gotta leave the nest. I gotta go earn my keep. So he went down to Mobile Christian Academy, Mobile, in Mobile, Alabama. And then he eventually ended up in Miami. Those are football hotbeds, very passionate places. You cannot be timid. You have to have confidence to play those types of programs. And I don't want to say he faced adversity, but again, when you have to prove yourself and you have to work twice as hard, here's how you know he's going to be a special player. When he got to Mobile Christian, Bobby Bowden's assistant coach, one of his assistant coaches, longtime assistant coach, his name is Ronnie Cottrell. He saw him and was like, that's a special kid. If you got coaches of that caliber who have been around the game for a long time, recognize talent, you run with it. Coach Henne, he recognized it. He fought tooth and nail to get him. Remember, Floyd Boucard at one time was committed to Oklahoma. And Coach Henne was patient. He stayed with it, stayed on top of it. And all of a sudden, they had that connection. And now Floyd is at USC. And he has those elite feet that Coach Henne talked about. Micah Benuelos, just because he's 6'3", 300 pounds, or maybe just a slightly under 300, or maybe slightly over 300, just because he's not your prototypical 6'5", 330-pound interior offensive lineman, that doesn't mean he's not getting the job done. He started this last game. And if you're not calling him out, saying, oh, it means he's doing a good job. Anytime an offensive lineman, you're not hearing their name other than, oh, you see him put that guy on his back, that's all you want to hear. You don't want to hear number 59 called for illegal procedure, or number 59 for holding, number 59, and eligible man downfield. None of that happened. So these are the type of players who work hard. They put in all that extra effort because they have to prove themselves. And it just shows it doesn't matter what their star ranking is. They are integral parts of this program right now. They're playing good minutes. You got Floyd Boucard as a true freshman doing it. And then you got Micah Benuelos, who has been dealing with injury, but he just stuck with it. He kept plugging away, playing hard. And now he started at right guard. We'll see what happens this week. I don't know if he'll be starting, but he's definitely going to be part of the rotation. Also, if you didn't see after practice during the game, Micah Benuelos, he's a character. He's got a great personality. He's got some dance moves. So you have to see him. He kind of does like a little bit of a hula dance, gets his hips into it. Anyways, it's out there on social media. You can find it. Now I need to see Micah and the entire offensive line room doing it after a touchdown, little post-touchdown celebration dance. If that happens, I'll tell you about it. I'll tell you again, tomorrow's episode, we're going to have an AP poll voter. We're going to ask them what goes into it. And then on Friday, again, coming up this week, we're going to add an extra segment. Got MVP, Marvin Powell III. We're going to do a preview of Purdue together. So until then, everyone, you know what to do. And yes, I will also have my Friday rant. And when you're done with this episode of Locked On USC, get on over there to wersc.com.